Last time when my dad dropped me off in Hawaii in January, we came to Isaac Hale Beach Park and he planted one of these little coconuts with a sprout on the beach. And so we came back today to check on it, and me and my brother and my mom planted our own. So here's my coconut tree that will hopefully one day grow into a big coconut tree. But for now, it is just a sprout. We just hopefully got her on her way. So, fun stuff. There's my brother. Here are my parents. So yeah, good stuff. Locals call this place the New Beach because there's the lava flow right there. So it's really new, I guess. But yeah, so good times. Spring break. Aloha! I'm back. I'm in my room. This last week I was in a car with my boyfriend. That's the last time you saw me. So I'm back in my room, back to normal almost. Today's the last day of spring break. We have school tomorrow, and I don't know how I feel about that. I had a great 2 weeks with first my boyfriend and then my family. And as much as I love going to school here, not quite ready for the break to end, but that is okay. It's gonna be okay. In other news, I only have like a month and a half left of school, left of this program, so that's kind of insane, right? Like, whatever. Anyways, so I vlogged a lot of my spring break with my family. We did so many cool things. Me and my brother and my dad went on 6 scuba dives. We went on 4 boat dives, 1 at night, and then we did 2 other dives. We did a lot of driving around the island, kind of hit all of the sights that there are to see. It was really, really fun, and I'm so glad that they got to come out here. My dad put a lot of effort into planning, and it paid off. We had a great time. So, strangely enough, though, I also did a lot of cogitating, a lot of thinking over my spring break about my future, and I've kind of been doing that this whole semester. So I guess today I want to talk about my career and how this semester has kind of helped me to figure out where I'm going next, because I am a junior. I only have 2 semesters left, which is kind of crazy. So, for anyone who doesn't know, I'm a double major in English and history, and I minor in anthropology. My history major is focused in Indigenous history, so I work with Native American history, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted to come out here, because there's an Indigenous population that was settled slightly later than a lot of the populations on the mainland United States. So it's been interesting to study U.S. colonization after like the mainland had pretty much been all the way colonized, and just study it in like a different context. So I've had a couple career ideas in mind. A lot of people say, oh, what are you going to do with that? I think everybody gets that question. But yeah, so after I graduate, I've had 2 ideas back and forth, and this semester I kind of added like 2 more. So I've thought about, I originally wanted to go into public education and work with high school level students to kind of like to revise the way that we talk about American history, because the narrative that we currently get very much erases the story of Native Americans and other Indigenous people. Later in my college career, I decided that I would potentially consider going into research and go on to get my PhD. So I considered that for a really long time, thought that was what I was going to do, and then this semester kind of changed everything. So I decided that I had two more options on the table. One was to go to law school and maybe go for like human rights law. And then the other was to potentially work in a government agency and work within the system to help dismantle some of these colonial structures. Like maybe work with like the Library of Congress, or I don't know. I haven't thought that one completely through, but it's an idea. I wanted to bring all those up for a couple of reasons. Those are all things that I thought about doing. And the reason it's changed so much this semester is because I first have learned so much. The kind of information I'm getting is stuff that I've said this a million times, I could never get in South Carolina. The education I get in South Carolina is awesome. I learn a lot about white supremacy and colonial structures, but I never really learned them directly in the context of an indigenous nation or an indigenous group of people. So it's really cool to study a group of people and a culture and like a history of a specific place that has been subject to settler colonialism on a lot of different levels. So I've learned a lot of information, and that also has helped me think about things on a more broad level and helped me to understand concepts that apply to nations on the mainland. So there's that. And then the second thing is that I have been thinking a lot about allyship, and this is kind of the big one. I listened to this podcast when I went to go pick up Davis from the airport, and it's an indigenous podcast by two Native women. It's called All My Relations, and I've listened to all the episodes now, but one episode in particular really got me because the professor who was appearing on that episode talked about research and how research is really important, and going into research on indigenous issues is important because it backs up activism. And this semester, I've really been thinking a lot about my place in the field and allyship. For any of you who don't know, allyship is kind of a complicated concept, but it essentially means that someone from outside a group, whether that's the LGBT community, whether that's the African American community, whether that's the indigenous community, someone outside the group shows it's how they show their support. Like, to be an ally means that you make some kind of contribution to dismantling the systems that oppress these groups. And recently I've been kind of conflicted because that means that you have to do something tangible. It's not, you can't just talk about it, you have to actually do something. Like, you need to donate to tribes, or you need to donate to, nonprofits that help people, that help, fund HIV clinics for anyone. I don't know. It just means that you're making material donations, or that you are putting yourself, it means that you are making material contributions, or you are taking specific action. And some people define this action as putting yourself in danger, like on the front lines. So yeah, in danger can mean anything. It can mean just putting your career on the line. It can be going to a protest and standing in front of a bulldozer that's going to destroy something. It can be participating in a protest, whatever. It's just, you are contributing something that's actually tangible. So I, for a long time, thought that this semester was a little bit conflicted because research to me didn't feel tangible enough, especially as someone who is white and benefits from white privilege, I feel like I need to do more, especially to show that I am an ally to these communities. So I've just been conflicted, and that's why I considered working as a lawyer, as someone who could like work directly to benefit Indigenous people and work within the system, potentially set precedents that would change the system. So yeah, I mean, that's an option that I thought about. But this scholar in this podcast was talking about how research is really important, and that changed my whole world, because I was like, oh, you're right, like it is a physical contribution. Doing research and writing is important. But I'm also still conflicted because she was specifically talking about Native writers and Native researchers. So I'm still kind of like navigating and learning and trying to listen, and I'm trying really hard. But this semester here is definitely helping me think through those things. It's kind of amazing. I mean, I feel like just being here and thinking this hard about my career, I mean, like, I haven't really come to any conclusions, but that's okay. I almost feel reinvigorated, like I remembered my purpose or something. So that's really cool, and I'm happy it happened. So yeah, I've been doing a lot of thinking about that and those issues, and just like where I fit in, and what being an ally means. Same podcast that I was listening to, but they were talking about how research kind of backs up activism, because for a long time I was like, being an academic isn't enough, like doing research isn't tangible enough. But the guest on this one episode of the podcast was talking about how being an academic is really important, because you create the information that in the data that backs up why people are protesting. And I mean, you can participate in both, but it's not nothing to be a researcher. And so just thinking about like, am I doing enough if I go into research? Like, do I want to do activism or research? I don't know. So just all of those things have been kind of mulling over in my mind, and being here has kind of helped me to work on figuring that out. What my kind of place is as an ally, along with just like learning the information that I've been learning, which has been incredible. I've also been forced to kind of confront reality in terms of, again, like student loans and being able to afford things like law school. Facing the reality that I will probably move back home after college, the millennial way, right? Just to be able to save money and start paying back my student loans. Being here, I don't really know necessarily if being here is specific to how I've thought about my career and like my future in those terms, but I know that thinking about all this other stuff has helped me to also think about that. Just like the logistics and the reality of my situation, you know, like, is it realistic to go to grad school for like 8 years? Like, will I get a job after I'm done? Is being a lawyer really worth it? Like, will I burn myself out? Being a teacher, is it selling out if I go into public education? Will I make enough to live off of? So, all things to consider. This thing that I've kind of learned is a little bit different. I feel like I've learned to be more like personable and adaptable, because, like when you move here and you're trying to meet new people, it's different than starting college, because when you start college, everybody's going through the same thing. But when you come here as an exchange student and you're living in a dorm where you're older than everybody else, and it's spring semester. Everyone's already made their friends in the fall semester, and no one really wants to get close to someone who's only going to be here for 4 months. So that's been kind of challenging, but luckily I've like met some really cool people and learned how to be comfortable, like maybe not having my best friends in the world here, and like learning to be comfortable in a place that I'm not comfortable in necessarily, and learning quickly how to work with a new culture and like fit into that culture. Maybe not like fit in, but exist within the culture. Yeah, I just feel like I have learned a lot of those skills. Adapting to new styles of learning. I feel like the classes here are structured very differently than they are in South Carolina, and so adapting to the way that professors want me to write papers, adapting to participation levels in class, and like just like following the rules that professors set, because you know in South Carolina they all tend to be like the same rules. So I just feel like I've learned a lot of those skills that will be beneficial to me in the future. So yeah, that is just sort of some of the stuff that's been going through my mind. It's a lot to think about during spring break. I know that I should have just been like hanging out, but it's kind of impossible sometimes. Just gotta go with the flow with my brain, I guess. So yeah, that's just some of the stuff I've been thinking about. The future is always looming. I think it is for everybody, and I'm by nature a planner, so I like to make sure I have everything kind of in order in terms of my future. So yeah, that can get problematic sometimes because I don't like when the plans change, but again, we're learning to be adaptable, learning to get around that. I hope you enjoyed some of my B-roll. I had a lot of fun with my family and my boyfriend. I'm sad that they're gone, but we had a really great time. My family, my dad did a really good job of planning all sorts of stuff for us to do, like surfing lessons and scuba dives. We went on a night dive and saw manta rays. And just like so much stuff. Ate a lot of really good food, and yeah, it was a really great time. So really happy to have all those memories, and it should be interesting to get back to reality, which is kind of what I'm working on right now. Hee. So thanks for watching as always, and I will see you guys next week. Aloha!